Hi, everybody. Welcome back to 10 Roman Facts in 10 Days. This is part of our countdown to the release of the Romans, my book that traces the 2,000-year history of the Roman state from its beginning in the 8th century BC till 1204 AD. And again, if you're seeing this before October 7th of 2025, the release date of the book, we're giving you a promotion. This is 20% off the price of the book if you order it from basicbooks.com. So again, I'm super excited about this book because of everything that it's enabled me to see about the Roman state and all of the really cool things that it's enabled me to look at in the course of studying about the Roman state and its massive history and imprint. So again, we're doing 10 facts in Rome and 10 Roman facts in 10 days. And this is day number 5. So fact number 5 is Hadrian's Wall. So Hadrian's Wall is the most famous Roman border fortification. And of course, everybody who thinks about Roman sort of fortifications thinks about Hadrian's Wall first. But Hadrian's Wall is neither the longest fortification that the Romans built, nor the furthest north defensive wall built by Rome. So, what is Hadrian's Wall? Hadrian's Wall is a structure that was built by the Emperor Hadrian as part of his attempt to refashion and reorient the Roman state away from the conquests that the Emperor Trajan had undertaken and pull back Roman forces to defensible boundaries across the empire, and then take the resources that had been used to fund wars of conquest and use those resources instead to focus on building up successful structures to make things more prosperous and safe within Roman territory. So the wall itself stretched for about 80 miles across what's now northern England. And we know quite a bit about this because quite a bit of the wall still survives. So the wall was originally planned to be 10 feet wide. It was later reduced to about 8 feet in width. It was, we're told, in the 8th century BC, still about 12 feet tall when the Venerable Bede is writing and watching and looking at this. The wall initially was built with masonry and turf portions, but eventually it became a full masonry wall. And then it was punctuated, as you can see from this picture, it's punctuated by a series of forts. But I think when we think about what this wall is designed to do and how this wall functioned, it's important for us to understand that Roman frontiers are different from how we imagine militarized frontiers now. So I know, like, when my students think about what a frontier is like, a lot of the things they think about are things like the North Korean, South Korean frontier, where there's, a DMZ, it's very heavily militarized, and basically nobody goes across it. So, now at the DMZ, you actually have this remarkable kind of reforestation of the Korean Peninsula with lots of wild animals and things going through there because people just are not going through that area. This is not what a Roman frontier situation is designed to do. What Hadrian's Wall is designed to do is, yes, it does block large scale barbarian movements across that territory and into Roman territory. But really, what it's designed to do is also monitor movements across that territory and channel people through very specific crossing points. And so it's control of the frontier. It's not about sealing the frontier off. It's instead about controlling and monitoring the interactions and exchanges and travel across that frontier itself. So the wall is very successful. It's very significant. But it's not the final word in where the Roman frontier in Britain would be. And so Hadrian's Wall was chosen basically strategically because the Romans didn't want to try to defend a lot of the lowlands in northern England and in Scotland. But Hadrian's successor, Antoninus Pius, decided, well, there is actually a much more natural place that you can separate the wilds of northern Scotland from Roman territory in Britain. And so he moved the wall north and built it so that it went across what's now Scotland from the Firth of Forth to the Firth of Clyde. And so this was a wall that he built about 20 years after Hadrian's Wall. It's a different kind of wall. So it's mainly a turf wall. It's built on a stone foundation, but then it was basically a set of berms that were raised up on that stone foundation. The stone foundation survives in some places, but the wall is much, much less impressive than Hadrian's Wall. And also, a lot of the turf foundations have, or a lot of the turf that are built on those stone foundations has eroded away. This was a wall that the Romans maintained for a while, but eventually they did pull back the main of their forces to Hadrian's Wall. That doesn't mean that they abandoned the territory entirely, but it did mean that they were going to use it as a kind of buffer zone more than something that they were going to sort of put forward positions to try to defend and regulate in the same fashion that they used Hadrian's Wall to regulate what was going on in England. Now, the Antonine Wall is the farthest north Roman fortification wall, but neither it nor Hadrian's Wall were the biggest sort of continuous fortification wall the Romans built. That was actually something that was built in Germany, a fortification also built by Antoninus Pius, and this is the longest continuous fortified stretch of the Roman frontier. And the foundation and the fortifications there are not nearly as impressive. There were some that were built up with masonry, but really this sort of line that goes from where the Rhine, so the Rhine and the Danube are the main northern frontiers of the Roman state, but there is this space where the territory between the Rhine and the Danube, the Rhine kind of cuts. The Rhine kind of goes to the west or starts in the west. The Danube is sort of too far south. And there's a nice little triangle. We'll go back actually to the previous. There's a nice little triangle where the Romans would have to defend a massive amount of territory along the Rhine and the Danube. And so what they decide to do is instead basically build a wall from the place where the Rhine is kind of too far west and where the Danube is too far south, so that they can kind of defend a smaller area than they would if they maintained those river boundaries. And those fortifications are not Hadrian's Wall. They're instead a combination of ditches, wooden palisades, earthen berms, and then some masonry forts. But again, what these are designed to do is not seal the border off, but instead regulate crossings across them. And so this is a reconstruction of a Roman fort that's part of this fortification structure. And what you see here is, again, what it is doing, it is regulating exchange. It's regulating crossings. It is possible to cross, it's actually desirable to cross, but only under conditions that are controlled conditions.